Good morning, Davis CSL. I am so happy to be here and to see all of you. And I'm going to take just a moment to put it back on gallery view so I can see every one of your faces. So this morning, from Gail and from the musicians, thank you so much. I am so reminded of how the infinite is unbroken, how that connectedness is always there. And that pure connectedness of being is something we are going to talk about today. Today's topic is pushing the pause button. And the monthly topic for CSL, the monthly theme, is a pause for guidance. It's a pause to refresh and rejuvenate and reconnect. They're taking the whole month of August. We are taking the whole month of August to reconnect ourselves with who and what we really are so that we have the capacity and the fullness to be able to deal with all the rest. And sometimes there's a lot of all the rest going on, isn't there? Yesterday, when I was preparing for this talk, I don't know if any of you do this thing where maybe you have The Science of Mind or some other sacred book or book that inspires you, and you open it up and you let spirit guide your finger or guide your mind to a passage to read, knowing that that will help illuminate you. Yesterday, I did that with 3 different books as I was preparing for this talk. And I do that a lot when I'm preparing a talk or a class. And reading after reading was a little different from what I expected. Reading after reading told me about this importance of experiencing our joy and our delight, even when there is trouble around us. Not just the experience of the joy and delight, but also that we know that we can experience this and should, if we can should on ourselves in a good way, should experience this truth of who and what we are even in moments of difficulty. And it was a profound reminder, just as the song we just heard was a profound reminder, as I looked outside at the dark skies, the leaden skies, and all of the ash that is falling. And I think all of our hearts and minds and our wisdom, all of our compassion is open to the people who are involved in any way in the fires, and the livestock and the animals, the homes and the firefighters. Many of us know people probably who have been affected in some way, who've been evacuated or worse. And so how do we allow ourselves this joy of the moment in the midst of all of that, in the midst of all of these things that are going on in the world? Is it okay to feel delight when there is so much pain? Is it okay to allow ourselves the moments of connectedness? I actually have this book. It's called Loving Kindness. It's a Buddhist book by Sharon Salzberg. My dad gave it to me so long ago, and I'm only just now reading it. He was right. It's an amazing book. And she talks about suffering. When we open to the suffering of beings, the joy at the heart of compassion complements the joy of mudita, which is sympathetic joy that arises when we open to their happiness. It seems strange that we can feel joy in the face of pain, but that is what happens. Compassion brings us closer to others. The power of harmony, of union that grows in the heart from being close to one in pain, infuses compassion with openness, tenderness, concentration, and bliss. And we can feel happiness whether we respond to the joy of beings or to their suffering. Today, we want to focus on our own connectedness and how that grows delight in the world. It's interesting that Ernest Holmes says that as far as he can tell, our purpose for being here is something that Aurobindo originally said. And I haven't studied Aurobindo, so I don't know this, but Ernest Holmes said in multiple places that it is for spirit to delight in its creation. We are here for the delight of God. And we want to move that into the delight in our lives. I had an alternate title for this talk. The alternate title is The Spiritual Practice of, wait for it, Not Practicing. Does anybody have a spiritual practice? I think we all have practices in our lives. My 2 biggest ones are meditation and treatment. And we have plenty of practices available to us. We have meditation and treatment, and we also have journaling and contemplation. We can connect in nature. We can do gratitude practices and forgiveness practices and many, many variations on a theme. Sometimes I feel as though if I did all of them, I could spend my whole day in practice, and it would probably be delightful. And maybe I don't have time. We live in a world of a lot of doingness, a lot of doingness. So especially here in this Western world, we're impressed upon to have goals and go fulfill them, and to do things for others and do things for ourselves, and make sure to take care of others and take care of ourselves, and to make lists. Does anybody make lists? I do too. And I think all of those things are really wonderful. They are what keep us going in a lot of ways. They keep us connected to living full lives. And frankly, the people I know who are retired are often even busier than some of us who haven't yet retired from our day jobs or our paying jobs. We fill our lives with things, hopefully, that we enjoy, but sometimes they are things filled with obligation. We may have to take care of people. We may have just a lot of what we call administrivia, calling Amazon to find out about that package that didn't get delivered, just all of the little things of life. What we're focusing on now is to pause in the midst of all of that and to move forward with the things that do fill our hearts. What is it that makes you feel more connected and more alive? What makes you feel connected? Is it playing with a child or a grandchild? Cooking a good meal or baking? Going out by a river and just enjoying the sounds of the birds? There are many things that make us feel connected, art and music. And when we expand those, we are expanding the spiritual practice of not practicing. We are being instead of practicing. We are living the qualities of spirit. We are living our joy. Joy sometimes is a strong word, so I want to back up from that and say sometimes we are in a place that is really difficult, and sometimes our loved ones are in a place that is really difficult. And we may not be able to go from that really difficult place or that depressed place or that sad place to bliss in 30 seconds. And we shouldn't expect it of ourselves. My daughter, Jennifer, who lives with us, experiences a lot of anxiety and depression. And she has a go-to when she's in those places, and maybe you do too. And that go-to is her Labrador Retriever. He's this big white pony of a dog. He's a yellow lab, but he's really pale and he's huge. And he is all affection. If you could take affection and bundle it up into one being, that is this dog. He leans against her and allows himself to be petted endlessly. She loves his soft ears. And that's another way we connect, isn't it? Is through our pets. To just have them with us is such a comfort, this unconditional love. We want to be able to feel even a little better. I see a cat in the images. We want to be able to feel even just a little better. Yes, if we can go all the way to joy, if we can be in a place where I am hanging out with a friend, you are hanging out with the person that you love so much, and just enjoying that connection. If that can feel like bliss, that's perfect. And if it's just a place of feeling somewhat better, and then from there you can feel somewhat better again, that also is perfect. That also is connecting us to this indwelling being that is God. Ernest Holmes, as it said in today's sacred reading, Ernest Holmes says that the highest God and the innermost God are one God, not two. And it is our work and our joy to connect to that innermost God. Sometimes it seems like harder work than it needs to be. Today, I invite you to go to those moments of playfulness, those moments of creativity, those moments when you can spend time just with yourself, with no obligations, whatever it is you are doing. Sometimes that feels like bliss. And know that you are connecting with the qualities of the infinite. If you would, join with me now and pick one of those moments. Just pick a memory or something you know you could do that would give you that feeling. And close your eyes if you like. We'll just spend a couple minutes in that memory, in that knowing. And feel what that feels like. How good does it feel? Can you expand the feeling of it and really focus on those feelings? And just breathe with it. How good this is. Today, I pause and delight in the goodness of life. How does your body feel as you expand into this? Do you feel an expansion in your lungs, in your heart? Maybe a relaxation of your mind, a relaxation that flows throughout your body. Dr. Lissa Rankin, in the book Mind Over Medicine, says that this relaxation response that we get through these moments of connectedness, and yes, you can come back, or you can stay with that bliss if you want to. It's probably hard to leave. She says that we actually, in this relaxation response that we get through meditation or when we connect in treatment, or not that she knows about treatment, but we know we feel it, or through these just day-to-day moments of connecting with who and what we are, with what makes us feel good. These actually start healing our physical body. Our cells start rejuvenating and realigning. And we know this from science. Her book is deeply researched so that she can convince others in the medical establishment of the incredible power of mind over medicine, of the relaxation response. And as an aside, by the way, there's a really wonderful new CSL class that's based on this book. So I highly recommend that class. So by doing this connectedness, by being in these moments of bliss, we can heal our lives, and we can also begin to heal the lives of others. We are actually giving something to the world through these moments of connectedness. I invite you to collect them, to collect moments of bliss and connectedness on a strand of pearls so that you have a moment here and you take the moment, the time to expand into it, and a moment here and more moments along the strand of your life so that they start merging together. The more and more of these strands, of these pearls that you have on your strand of being, the more you up-level your life. And we know as we up-level our lives, we are all connected, right? We are connected to all of those people affected by the fires. We are connected to each other. We are connected to our very planet, to the plants and animals and all of it. And as we up-level ourselves through moments of delight or simply moments of feeling better, we actually are up-leveling the whole race consciousness. We are giving of ourselves in service, not only to feel better for ourselves, not only to be who and what we are meant to be, but also to give the world the gift of ourselves at our highest and best, because that's part of who we are also. I want to read you a quote from Richard Rohr. Now, Richard Rohr has written many books. He's a Franciscan priest, and I don't know if any of you have read him. I've been leading a book study on the universal Christ. And trust me, this is Christ envisioned probably differently than any of you, and certainly than I have ever heard. And Rohr says, when you look your dog in the face, for example, as I often looked at my black Labrador Venus, I truly believe you are seeing another incarnation of the divine presence, the Christ. When you look at any other person, a flower, a honeybee, a mountain, anything, you are seeing the incarnation of God's love for you and the universe you call home. Pause. He says to pause, to focus on an incarnation of God's love apparent near you right now. I know that Stephanie just focused on her cat. Sometimes that incarnation of God's love might be ourselves. It might be another. And then he says this incredible short sentence. He says, you must risk it. Pause to focus on an incarnation of God's love apparent near you right now. You must risk it. Now, why would this be risky when it seems like sheer delight? Why is it risky to focus on this knowing that we are one with the divine? Sometimes we think we're not worth it. Sometimes we think we should be doing all of the other things. Sometimes we think that maybe I shouldn't feel good when someone else is not. Risking this level of connectedness is risking being connected with who and what we are, with the whole truth of our being. It is risking knowing that we actually are the divine in the world. It is risking up-leveling our lives in the most incredible ways. Are you ready to take that kind of risk? Who's ready to take that kind of risk? To risk love, to be in the joy. He says anything that draws you out of yourself in a positive way is operating for God as God for you at this moment. How else are you drawn forward, not by idle beliefs, but by inner aliveness? I want to tell you a story. And I got this story from, many of you know, I'm sure, the work of Don Miguel Ruiz. This is the book, The Mastery of Love. I think we know him best for the Four Agreements. And in The Mastery of Love, I won't read it to you, but in The Mastery of Love, he tells the story that he got actually from Hinduism, which is the story of Brahma. The god Brahma was all that is. The infinite is all that is. And Brahma was bored because what was he supposed to do? He's all that is. And so Brahma decided he would create a playmate. And Brahma created the goddess Maya. And once Brahma had explained Maya's purpose, that she was there to be his playmate, to play with him, Maya said, wonderful, let's play a game. Only you have to do everything I tell you to do. And Brahma said, okay, let's do it. And Brahma went from there and created the whole known universe, all that is visible, the mountains and trees and hummingbirds and oceans and sky, all of it, everything except us. And then he went to Maya and said, okay, I've done that. Now what? And Maya said, now I want you to create a being who is so intelligent and so aware that they actually understand your creation, that they actually understand what you've done. And it took Brahma a little while, but Brahma created us, human beings. And then he said, okay, I'm done. When does the game begin? He was probably getting a little impatient at this point. And Maya said, it begins now. And promptly, Maya split Brahma into thousands of pieces and put a piece into every human heart. Now I think we could say billions of pieces. There is a piece of Brahma, of the infinite wisdom that is all that is, inside you. This week, I want you to focus on the fact that the indwelling God, the innermost God, the truth of who and what you are, is one with the one God, that there is one, not two, that there is a power for the universe that is all that is, and you can use it, and you can live it in moments of delight, in moments of freedom, in moments of joy. And your joy expands the world, and it helps put Brahma back together. We all want to do that, right? We all want to reconnect through God's love. And I have a quote for you from Sharon Salzberg, who wrote this book, Loving Kindness. Mudita, which is the sympathetic joy, depends on rapture, on our capacity to take active delight in things. And this depends on our ability to actually let ourselves feel joy. We have to let go of feeling guilt about our own happiness or feeling threatened that it will be taken from us. It is essential that we take delight in our own happiness as a perfect expression of our basic motivation to be free. We gladden the mind because that helps free us. When we remember the good things we have done, the times of generosity and caring, the times of holding back from hurting someone, we can rejoice in our own goodness. We do good because it gladdens and frees the heart. We are moving into this week knowing that we are one with the connectedness of all being. We are taking those moments, just as we did today, those little moments of connectedness, those little moments of delight, or even the big moments, and focusing on them so that they expand, so that our hearts expand and our hearts heal, and so that the world expands and the world heals. This is our gift to ourselves, and this is our gift to the world. I love you all. Thank you. Namaste.